Hey everybody, in this chapter we are going to be talking about asymmetric information, and all that means is when two parties to a transaction don't have the same amount or type of information, right? That's the asymmetry. So symmetry would be that they both had the same information, asymmetry they don't. And really there are two big problems or categories of asymmetric information. There's adverse selection, which you can see here first. Adverse selection happens, adverse selection occurs when asymmetric information is there prior or before the actual transaction takes place. We'll talk about different examples of that. And then moral hazard is after. Okay, so just remember adverse selection before, moral hazard after. So I'll give you an example. A very classic example of adverse selection is with insurance companies. So people who are more likely to need insurance are the ones who are more likely to go out and ask for insurance, right? And so, for example, somebody who is who drives very, very fast on the highway might be more likely to ask for a bigger insurance policy, knowing that there's a higher probability that they'll need to use it. The problem is the insurance companies, when hundreds of people are applying for insurance, they don't know which one is the risk taker and which one isn't. And that's the adverse selection in that moment where because they don't have an equal amount of information, they have to make decisions with that lack of information. And often that decision is, well, look, we're just going to charge everybody more because we don't know who the risk taker is. So then what happens? The ones that are risk takers will take the insurance. The ones who are not are going to say, oh, this is too expensive for me and I'm not going to do it. And what ends up happening to the insurance company is they get left with a bunch of kind of high risk customers, and all the low risk customers passed. So the root of the problem was we didn't know who the high risk customers were. And because of that, we ended up with a bunch of high risk customers. We'll talk about another example called the lemons problem in a moment, but that's just to show you that when the asymmetric information is there before the transaction, right, it can lead to that type of problem. Moral hazard is after. And so a classic example of moral hazard would be something like the principal agent problem, where you hire somebody to do a job. Let's say I hire you to run my company. So I hire you to run my company. So the transaction was, I'm going to hire you. So I hired you. Now you work for me. And you start to, work in a way that is not in my best interest, which is what you were hired to do. So I hired you to run my company to maximize my profit. I pay you a salary for that. But then you kind of slack, you have a little side gig, you do things that are not in my best interest. And so that is an example of moral hazard. So I'm going to go over some exercises with you guys. The first one here, this is a past exam question on the lemons problem. So the lemons problem is similar to the insurance example I gave you before, but it's more in the context of used cars. And the idea here is that if somebody is going to, I'll do a quick illustration of the lemons problem and then we'll jump into the exercise. So there are buyers of used cars and there are sellers, right? Let's say that there are three used cars available. This one is good, this one is bad, and this one is good. Good used cars are worth about, let's say the sellers are willing to accept let's say 10,000. The bad used cars, the sellers are willing to accept 5,000. Because that's, they're bad cars, they've got damage, they've got a lot of mileage. The buyers, are willing to pay 12,000 for a good car, but only 6,000, let's say, 6,000 for a bad car. The problem is, again, they don't know which car is good or bad, right? They get to the lot and all the cars look the same. So what do? Well, they need to hedge their bet and say, well, look, I don't know which one the good or the bad car is. So to play it safe, I'm just going to offer the middle of my range here. And let's say I offer 8,000. Well, what's going to happen is The seller is not going to sell you the $10,000 car. They're going to give you the bad one. Why? Because they're not willing to sell the good car for $10,000. Now, had you known which car was good, right, you would have offered 12. And see, this is the problem of adverse selection. Because the buyer doesn't know which car is the good or the bad, they end up with the bad one. We say that the lemons, the bad cars, drive the good cars out of the market. So here's an actual exercise on that was on a past exam. It says, consider a used car market in which both lemons and good cars are potentially available, kind of like the illustration I just did. The fraction of good used cars potentially available is A. Okay, so A represents the proportion of cars that are good, and so the lemons represent 1 minus A. So if A is 20%, that means 20% of the cars are good, 80% of the cars are lemons, bad. Buyers value lemons at 5,000 and good used cars at 10. Very similar to what I said here, right? Well, ish, different numbers, but right. So the buyer would pay 5,000 for a lemon, but would pay 10,000 for a good car. The reservation price, the word reservation price, guys, is the minimum price that somebody would accept in any context. So here it says the reservation price of a lemon owner is 4,000. That means the owner of a lemon car, a bad car, they're willing to take at least 4,000. They'll take more, obviously. The 4 is the minimum. The reservation price of good cars is 7,000. Owners know the quality of the cars, but buyers do not. And there is the asymmetric information, the adverse selection problem. It's adverse selection because we haven't sold the car yet or bought the car yet, and so it's happening prior to the transaction. But there's the big problem. There's 3 questions here. On yours, it should be kind of split up more nicely. So determine the equilibrium price if A is 0.5 and everybody is risk neutral. That's the first question. For what range of A is there adverse selection? That's the second question. And then the third question is, in one sentence, explain what would happen if your buyers were more risk averse. So for the first question, we'll call it A. Determine the equilibrium price if A is 0.5. So if A is 0.5, that's a probability, and everybody is risk neutral. That means that we don't need any risk premiums or anything like that. All you have to do is calculate an expected value. So you'd say, well, remember that the way it works. The expected value is just the probability multiplied by the outcome, right? So A is the probability of a good car. We know that good cars are worth 10,000. Then 1 minus A is the probability of a bad car. We know that bad cars are worth 5,000. Okay, so if we do the math, so this is, well, I'll put 0.5 here, 0.5 here, and that gives you 7,500. So that is the okay, so that is the expected value. B. So B is for what range of A would adverse selection occur? Okay, so the idea here is, so if A is 0.5, then there isn't really any adverse selection. Why? Because this amount is greater than 7,000. And so even the sellers of good cars are willing to sell at that price. So all the cars in the market are available. The lemons problem happens when the good cars leave the market. And the good cars will leave the market if the expected value is less than what sellers are willing to accept, right? Remember, this is kind of like the amount that the buyer is going to offer, right? So if the buyer offers 7,500, all the cars are available, right? The lemons, because the minimum price is 4,000, and the good ones because the minimum price is 7. But if the buyer came to the dealership and said, hey, I'm going to offer 6,000, well, then you would have a lemons problem. Why? Remember what I said. Right? If they offer less than what the buyers are willing to accept, the good cars leave the market. So guys, what do? It's pretty simple. You're going to still do an expected value, but now we're solving for A. So we're essentially saying, what would A have to be to have a lemons problem? Well, if the expected value is less than 7,000, you will have a lemons problem. The good cars will leave the market. And so that's all you need to do here. We're going to solve for this. So this is 10,000 A. This is, 5,000 minus 5,000 A less than 7,000. Start grouping your like terms. 10 and 5 is 5. 5,000 A. Bring this over. Plus 2,000 or less than 2,000, I guess. A would have to be less than 2,000 over 5,000, which is 0.4. So at anything below 0.4, you would have a lemons problem. All the good cars would leave the market and leaving only the lemons behind. And C is asking you to explain in one sentence whether risk aversion affects your answers. Well, let's think about this. If the buyers were risk averse, we're starting off with them being risk neutral, right? What do you think? I want you to think about this, and you can pause the video. What do you think would change if the buyers were risk averse? Well, what would change, guys, is that the amount that they're willing to pay for cars would be lower, right? Because somebody who's risk averse wants to take less risk. How do you take less risk? When you're buying something, you pay less. And so what would happen if these prices here fell? Let's see, just for fun, okay? Let's redo the math here. And we'll just drop it by 1,000. So I'm a little bit more risk averse, and so I'm willing to pay 4,000 for a lemon and 9,000 for a good car, not more than that. And so we do the math here. And if you do the math, in the exact same way we did it before, your A becomes 0.6. Which means the cutoff is higher, so there's more of a likelihood that you end up with a lemons problem. Because here, even if the proportion of good cars in the market was less than 60%, so that means that even if only 40% of the cars in the market were lemons, you would end up with a lemons problem. When this goes up in this context, that's bad, right? It increases the likelihood of having a lemons problem. And so I would say yes, definitely. Yes. Risk aversion decreases the amount that buyers are willing to pay, which increases the alpha in this case. This increases the chance of a lemons problem. There you go. Okay, great.